Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 18th of July. So we have some news out this morning. Well, at 9:30 we've got UK retail sales. Thereafter we've got the G7 meetings that are due to be held in Paris. So that probably is almost underway, if not underway. They are due to be talking about a range of global economic issues, including cryptocurrencies and trade disputes. I'm sure the Facebook Libra currency will come one amongst the higher levels topics there. Aside of that, we have very little. Bank of England credit condition survey at 9:30. That's already done. Right. Okay. Then we've got the Philly Fed manufacturing index later at 1:30. There is a FOMC speaker. This week does lead into the last week of speakers. I don't think that we'll see any FOMC speakers next week. Now, due to speak at 7:15, so quite late in the evening, or early evening there, I suppose. But there are audience questions, so he could be taking a view. Now, we saw a speaker yesterday late on, and he was quite a hawk, and dollar saw continued strength through on that basis. So where are we sitting? He said dollar saw some strength, saw some slight strength, but anyway, what we're sitting at the moment. Well, the euro yesterday ended up putting a bit of a reversal bar, but it's almost like a bullish harami kicking in here, with the second bar already coming in. Today's bar pushing in back towards the weekly pivot. As I said on my big picture outlook, I do wonder if we get a bit range bound, and this may be part of the range that it's sitting. It's pushing through for the euro. Well, as I say, we're just short of the weekly pivot there. I still quite like some downside on these in terms of this pattern here. It's not massively clear on this 4 hours, and maybe a break of the trend there would see the downside as a possible entry. On the side of that, on the upside, well, it's really a case of looking for retracements, but that in itself may trigger the downside. It's just come down to the hourlies here, and we've got an untouched daily pivot below, and that could be a target as we go through the morning here. Depending on how it works out, it could be target. High probability of being hit, the daily pivots. So there is that possibility it will come back for it. Caught it eventually yesterday. Took forever. It's slow. One of the slow old summer days, and it started off pretty slow here, and we could see a continuation of this sort of lower volumes in the mornings, and it picking up just slightly in the afternoon there. The pound, well, yesterday looked like it was going to continue down. Eventually, found support there in the morning, early morning, into its monthly S2 and bounced, and well, that was about it. It was just beyond its weekly S2 there. Bounced, never managed to continue the move down there. Wasn't any real divergence, but then it's just petering along at the moment. Hardly any real directional movement. Could get back down towards its daily pivot again. Good probability of that happening. If it breaks that level, well, S1 and towards yesterday's lows would be a fair target. If it bounces from the level, then I'd be looking more towards yesterday's highs, but the R1, so it really needs to show its hand a little bit more if it's going to show anything this morning. It's tracking sideward there. So we really are moving into summer trading here, and patience and probably more swings. Now we're seeing here on the dollar yen finally broke the area I was talking about yesterday morning. It's finally broken that monthly pivot. It's one of the stronger pairs anyway, fundamentally all round. Slowed down this morning on these. I'm just looking at the 4 hours here, and there's a bit of divergence on the hours. Again, untouched daily pivot. So if we see it start pushing up and it confirms, maybe breaking that 107.77 sort of area, the prior little high in amongst that area, maybe a bit lower than that actually. 107.76, so it doesn't matter, it's not a lot for distance. That sort of region, we could see a bit more of a correction, but my taking on this yen is I prefer the downside on it. So as much as it may push up, I think it may have a big ask to get back to that pivot at the moment, unless there's some iffy old news coming out. Aussie dollar pushed up again. This sort of main thrust that we saw last month pushing through. Okay, we've seen the correction, it's pushing back, and well, it's trying to test those highs. I'm sure there'll be plenty of stops sitting above there, whether they be sell stops or buy stops. There'll be stops. Just looking at the price action here, the momentum sort of run out of it a little bit in terms of the sort of retracements, but it may just push and break. We'll see, and then roll over. Here though, looking at the 4 hourlies, actually you can see inverted head and shoulders. Maybe it's got a little bit more in this pattern to give to the upside there. If it was to break down, your pattern trader, you would be looking at a good old chunk of so that's 69.20 through to it's about 80 pips there. Sorry, 120 pips. What am I talking about? 69.20, 70.40, 120 pips. That will be it could push through if it breaks that neckline. Maybe a big ask, but and it may take a long time. Canadian dollar. Not a day trade for me, the Canadian dollar normally. I cross trade it sometimes and did the other day, but didn't trigger yesterday. Today, well, Canadian dollar really chopping around somewhat here. Again, it's put a bit of a head and shouldery type pattern on here. It breaks that sort of horizontal rising trend line even. We could see yet another sell-off there, but it's slow as we sit here at the moment. It's just come down to the 60-minute time frame. So yeah, I mean, if it was to break down, it's caught its daily pivot there. And this is always the case, if it needs to break down, we're looking at post 8 o'clock already, but if it starts breaking this sort of level, well then perhaps the S1 would be a reasonable target during the daytime day at some point. Looking back maybe even to these prior lows here, certainly got potential, but if it just carries on pitching up here, I'll just leave it alone, to be quite honest. It's one of the stronger pairings, and I'd prefer to be seeing the Canadian dollar making its way against the US dollar. So there we are. Nothing much else. Quick look at S&Ps. S&Ps gave way a bit more yesterday. Some of the earnings are not coming through as many expected. It's already hit that 3,000 area for me. It can start rolling over a bit more now, and it may do, depending on what the earnings are. But they're certainly not looking particularly bright at the moment. So in the short term, retracements may give us opportunities to sell into, but a little bit oversold here maybe on some people's analysis, and it's certainly steep old day off yesterday. In the end, it rolled over from sort of late morning there, and well, didn't look back really very much. A little retrace later on in the evening there, but at the moment, any retrace may provide opportunities. It will have put. Just be careful. Work it off a little bit, because it has put, or will, if it breaks up these highs here, put a higher low in. If it just consolidates, maybe a trend line break to the lows may see us through for some more downside. But earnings reports at the moment aren't particularly shiny. So there we go. Have a great day. Bye for now.